Hello, everyone. I am so excited about today's guest, Dusty Baker, the World Series manager of the Houston Astros. I've known Dusty since 1968 when I was 6 years old, and the way I met him was because of segregation. Black baseball players were not allowed to live in the team hotel, and families like mine hosted baseball players for the Atlanta Braves here in Palm Beach County. We traveled out to California and we had a wide-ranging discussion with Dusty about everything from segregation to the Negro Leagues to baseball, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Let's move forward. Welcome to the Ryles Report, where we add historical context to life, love, and politics. The Ryles Report is now in session. Thank you, Dusty Baker, for giving the Ryles Report this opportunity to share with our listening audience baseball yesterday and today. I have often said to you and to others that I think that you probably are one of the few people that can link Negro League baseball with modern baseball. You and I have known each other over 50 years, and so I kind of want you to share with us what it was like and how you got into Major League Baseball, because from all the stories you've shared with me, you were a three-star athlete, you were baseball, football, and basketball.
Don't forget track.
And track, yeah. I see the picture here. We're here in your home.
Yep.
I see the picture of you running track as well. So tell me, what made you take baseball over all the other sports?
Well, actually, my favorite was basketball.
Okay.
And I think that's a lot of guys' favorites, regardless of what sport you're playing. But my parents got divorced my senior year of high school, and so the economic spokes were off the wheel.
And where were you all living at the time?
At the time, we were living here in Sacramento, in Carmichael, California.
Okay.
And our family was the only black family when I moved there from Riverside in the community. And the only two brothers in the school were me and my little brother.
Right.
And at the time, I was a junior and he was a freshman. And so anyway, my dad had wanted me to go to the University of Santa Clara, play basketball. I wanted to go to Arizona State or go to San Jose State, except my dad saw in a magazine, which I had seen too, that it was a 1-2 party school in the country. So my dad
San Jose State.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Arizona State.
Right.
So but I was
1 and 2.
1 and 2. I was going to go to one of them to play football, one of them to play basketball.
Okay.
And so my dad said, "Oh no, you're not going there, boy."
Right.
And I'm like, man, you know, my dad didn't read Playboy, but I saw it in Playboy over my partner's house, over my dad's, over my partner's dad's house. And so anyway, I prayed that baseball, if they did draft me, because I had a terrible senior year. Like I said, I was playing all 4 sports. I was trying to be like Bobby Bonds. I was running track, whatever was left in track after my baseball games or after practice. And so I had a terrible senior year, but the Braves, they drafted me anyway.
You had a terrible baseball year.
Yeah, correct. And I think he had 229.
All right.
And so I prayed, regardless, I said, "Lord, please don't let me get drafted by the Atlanta Braves," because I didn't want to go to the South.
Right.
This is 67, man, and it was like, unrest. There was total nonconformity, anti-Vietnam, and race riots, police, dogs, and things that I was seeing from California. I was seeing in Arkansas and Alabama and Georgia, and I was like, Mississippi. I said, man, I don't want to go to the South.
Right.
And so I got a call next day. You're a proud member of the Atlanta Braves. And so I didn't want to sign, but I started thinking about things and thinking about, I'm the oldest of 5, and the economic spokes were off the wheel, like I said.
Right.
And I said my prayers, and next day I woke up, and I was said I'm a sign.
Right.
And so, well, I didn't say that day. The Braves had sent for me and my mom to go to L.A., and L.A. was my favorite team as a kid growing up. And Tommy Davis was my hero. I wore number 12 like he wore number 12, and I worked out with the Braves. Hank was assigned to take care of me. Hank told my mother he'd take care of me as if I was his own son.
Right. And so because there was a difference of opinion with your father and your mother, you were part of the Jackie Cooper law.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, you had to get her to agree to allow you to be a pro?
Right. Well, one of them had to agree, or both.
Okay.
And my mom agreed, and I left without my dad's permission. In the Jackie Coogan child prodigy law.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackie Coogan child prodigy law stated that at that time, you were a minor until you were 21 years old, and so they were assigned to take care of my contract, and so they gave me some money to buy a car. I also had a scholarship to go to college. So I went to the junior college, but at that time there's also the Jim Thorpe law where if you were pro in one sport, you were pro in all.
All right.
So I couldn't play anything. I mean, that's why it was such a major decision at that time, because I was giving up my hopes and dreams and everything and put all my eggs in baseball's basket, which was my weakest, but I prayed on it. And, the answer I got, was a sign. My dad and I, one reason why they invoked the Jackie Coogan child prodigy law, because my dad took the contract to court, and my dad was my biggest supporter. I'm the oldest of five. I was with him every day, but all of a sudden, I was upset.
Right.
And
or you upset him.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Richard. Right. And so anyway, the state was over my trustees, trustee over my affairs, and so I couldn't spend any money except, like I said, a car, and go to junior college, watch football games. But Vietnam was hot, so you had to carry 15 units per semester,
right? Or
else you were drafted. No incompletes, no Fs, no nothing, which my mom wouldn't go for anyway. And so, anyway, I was with the Braves, but that was the best thing that happened to me because a couple things. Number one, I met Hank Aaron. And Hank did take care of me as if I was his son. I was with him almost every day, when I was around the Braves, other than time I was in the minor leagues. And I met Ralph Garr.
Right.
And Ralph was from the South. And Ralph taught me how to think in the South and how to live in the South and how to survive in the South. Because, at that time, my mom was a black studies teacher. So we had all these books in the house. Berkeley's right down the road. Right. H. Rap Brown and Angela Davis and Sin Q, and so that's how it was. And so, but that didn't work. In the South when you're by yourself.
Right.
And
so I guess I met you. I had to be 6 or 7 years old.
True.
You were 19, 20 years old. Right. What was the culture shock in coming from California to the South? Explain that.
Well, the culture shock was, you couldn't go where you wanted to go. And I remember one time, I tried to go to the pool hall, and they took the pool cue from me because I was speaking Spanish to one of the guys, and all of a sudden I started speaking English to one of the white guys, and they said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "California." And they snatched it out of my hand. They said, "We don't serve niggers in here." And I said, "What?"
You didn't eat them either. So Richard Pryor joke.
Oh yeah. And so I ran to Hank's room, and then Hank called NAACP and called Paul Richards, who was general manager at the time, and like whenever we had problems, man, I was so fortunate to have. Have Hank Aaron there. But there were times when different places I couldn't go. You couldn't go to Cress's. You couldn't go to...
Cress's, what's that?
Cress's, that was like a Walgreens back in the day in different places in the South. And then, Cito Gaston was with me and Ralph and Double A in my first summer playing there. And I couldn't...
Where?
Playing in... actually, we were playing for the Austin Braves. We were playing in Arkansas, in Little Rock, Arkansas.
All right. Ralph was with you?
Yes.
Okay.
And I tried to get off the bus and get something to eat. He said, "Where you going?" "I don't get me something to eat." He said, "You better sit down, man." He said, "We're gonna let the white dudes get your food for you." And and I remember my first day, I dropped my first ball hit to me in Little Rock, Arkansas, and and there were about 20 people lined up over there. Sitting in right field stands, and I'm like, man, they just called me a bunch of names. I mean, some of them was pretty good.
Right. Names like what?
Like Jigaboo and Coon and all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, what?
And it was white folks.
Oh yeah. But I found out later after the game that there was a mental institution next door, and it was on Thursday, and there was their visitation days to go see the ball game. So they was all from the mental institution. So they can say whatever they want to say. Right. But anyway, I started crying, I want to go home. And Cito said, no, man, I'll take care of you. And so Cito took, I always had somebody older always taking care of me. That's why Ralph Garner would always take care of you and some of the younger players.
Right. So you come to Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach. It's I guess it's segregated south, and the black ball players couldn't live in the team hotel, which was at the time the Ramada Inn, and they lived with in people's homes. And Ralph Gar lived in my parents' home. And
they were called host families.
They were host families.
Yeah.
What was that experience like coming from California?
Well, actually, it was pretty nice actually, because you got some home cooking just like your mama's house. Yeah, I mean you didn't have the freedom sometime that you wanted, but I'm sure my mom and Ralph's mom and dad, like you're glad that your son has that regimentation, and there's a good chance that the people that were having you in their house, especially back then, were church-going people.
Right.
And so I always had a mama. No matter what town I was in, I had a mama, older black lady that wanted to be my mama.
Right.
And they kept us straight. They fed us always. Black people gonna feed you.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was some of the best experiences, that I had.
So when you came to Palm Beach County and Hank knew the lay of the land. In fact, there's a Hank Aaron Way there in West Palm Beach now. What if anything did he tell you could and couldn't do?
Well, most of the time I did it, and then he'd tell me I couldn't do it.
Right. All right.
After I already did.
Do and ask for
yeah, exactly. Because man, I'm 19 years old. I'm grown. I can go and do what I want to do, even though it wasn't like that all the time.
Right.
And Ralph and I, we got stopped by the police a couple of times, and they called me boy, and I'm like, hey, I ain't gonna be no boy. And then Ralph hit me in my side, bam.
Right.
And then I said, I guess I said something wrong.
Right. You ain't in California.
That's what he told me. And he said after a while, he said, Baker, you ain't in California now, boy. And we had some of the same troubles out here.
Right.
Just because you're in California or New York or wherever you think you are, I had a bunch of trouble, and I also had a lot of good times. But some of the most trouble that I've had, probably overall, was when I was in Florida. Just as far as not being able to rent places, not feeling comfortable about things, and because I guess I spent the most time other than Georgia in the South in Florida.
Hank. I remember, and what I want to share with the viewing and listening audience is when you came to Florida, I guess I was 6, 7, 8, 9, and the closeness that the players had, and what it appeared to me as I was like they say the way Hush Puppies got their name is that the people would have the fish batter and they fry it up and they throw it to the dog and say Hush Puppy. What I remember, and I can tell you, I know you guys used to fish right there behind the stadium where the Atlanta Braves played for spring training. But what I do remember is how you all would prepare when a team was come in for the black players.
Sure.
And the camaraderie that you had between teams. It was, obviously you were adversaries on the field, but afterwards there was a plan that they were going to meet up somewhere, be a fish fry.
That's right.
Fish fry or what have you. Tell us about that experience.
Well, hey man, me and Ralph most times go out and catch the fish, and we like, hey, fresh fish,
right.
And whoever would come in town. Like I remember the Mets came in town. It was Cleon Jones and Tommy A.G. Those are Hank's homeboys from Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah, and whoever was in town, the black ball players would get together not only to get something to eat and not only to talk some mess,
right,
but also it was for safety,
right?
Because you didn't know where to go, and if you get caught in the wrong side of town.
They have consequences.
Especially if they can tell, and it wasn't always on the wrong side of the white town. Sometimes it's in the neighborhood when people can tell you ain't from there.
Right.
Like, hey man, you ain't from here, huh? And then right away, a lot of times you end up having some problems because, the pretty little girls in that area, they always would tell you they didn't have no boyfriend.
Right.
And then it come to find out, every one of them had a boyfriend. And next thing you know, hey man, chivalry's dead. I ain't fighting for your girl, but the fight was on.
Right.
So you had to you had to know the lay of the land, and especially when you're by yourself, you're miles. All of us are miles away from home.
Right.
And all of us were young. That's why I said we depended on Hank and Tommy. See, Tommy Aaron probably didn't get as much recognition for helping take care of us because we were with Tommy as much as we were with Hank.
I remember the young kids in my neighborhood all standing around, and you had Hank Aaron, you had Willie Mays, you had other ball players, you had Ralph Garr.
Some bad dudes, man.
And what were there's a picture that I have that I think is an iconic picture of you, Satchel Paige, Hank Aaron, Ralph Garr, and I'm not sure who.
And Cool Papa Bell.
Cool Papa Bell.
Yeah.
Tell me what the experience, what lessons that Hank imparted to you that you remember, like the quintessential lesson. What was Satchel Paige like, and what was Cool Papa Bell like as people?
Number one, they were all characters, and they all had personality.
Right.
And they loved to tell stories. They loved to laugh because that was a way of getting anxiety out of yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was all about fun, but it was all about as well as competition. It was fun.
Right.
And half the time you couldn't tell when they were telling the truth and when they were lying, but we didn't care because we were laughing all the time.
So what was Satchel Paige like?
Well, Satchel, he called me Daffy. And
Why?
well, because of Daffy Duck. I told him I don't look like no Daffy Duck.
Okay.
So he says, I said, my name's Dusty. He said, man, Daffy, I know what your name is. So everybody's going to get a nickname.
Right. Okay.
Whether you
With
like,
Satchel.
whoever.
Right.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But with Satchel loved to fish. And I was assigned to carry his fishing rods all the time.
All right.
And he promised he's going to give me one. I ain't got one yet.
Yeah.
But those guys are fun, and being around those guys, they were like, bigger than life. I mean, I had heard about most of them from my dad because my dad's a big baseball fan.
Right.
Plus we got the Pittsburgh Courier, we got the Ebony, we got the Jet, we got Sepia. So I knew all of them from reading about them.
Right.
But the thing about it is, I mean, these guys knew baseball, and I took a lot of the things that they used to tell us about baseball and try to apply it as a player. But more than anything, I try to apply it as a manager. Just strategical things to do. How to tell if a guy's doing this, or if a guy's doing that, because these guys were students of the game.
Right.
I mean, not only were they great ball players, I mean, these guys had a heck of an idea what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
Right. So those lessons you learned from a Satchel Paige or a Hank Aaron, they also, I guess, fed into your mindset as a manager.
Oh, for sure, and also a mindset as a man. Because then you're trying to be a man.
Right.
You're 18, 19 years old, and you're hanging out with men, so you don't want to be a silly little
child.
dude. Yeah, silly little dude, but you didn't talk too much either.
Right.
Because see, they didn't want you around if you was going to do a lot of talking.
Right.
But they like you around if you went and got them things or whatever, and
Right.
they wouldn't let us pay for anything. I'm talking, I mean, we'd wait on them, but they wouldn't let you pay for anything.
Right.
And all they would say is, I remember Hank telling me, he said, Dusty, you understand? I said, oh, yes, sir. I didn't understand nothing. And he's like, well, boy, just in case you don't understand, he says, the thing that I want you to do is to retain what I'm telling you, and someday it might come to you, and someday you may understand.
Right.
And there were things that he told me, Satch told me that 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I'm like, man, that's what he was talking about.
Right.
And that's what I try to pass on to not only young players, but to young people, is just try to retain, what you're told.
I prior to doing this interview, I took my family to Yosemite, and it was a bucket list item because my father was a nature lover.
Mine too.
And I did not get a respect for what he was trying to impart to me about nature until I was in my 50s. And I was I went to a trial lawyer's seminar for a month, and it was in Du Bois, Wyoming.
Wow.
And I got to see Red
For a
Rock
month.
in Yellowstone. And it was there that I said, this is what you were trying to teach me. Because if you don't know that there is a God in heaven that created all of this,
Just go there.
nature will make you see that.
Well, see, when I was a kid, I was turned on all these things too, but mostly turned on to them through National Geographic, because you know how they come around selling magazines.
Right.
So my dad he got me Sports Illustrated and Field and Stream because I like to fish.
Right.
And so he let me get 2 magazines. So my mom talked my dad into I think it cost $1.25 then, I think, to get a National Geographic.
Right.
And so my mom said, "Hey, you'll see the world through this photography right here." And I really have. I went to Alaska when I was off one year, didn't have a job, and I felt at home because I had seen all this in the National Geographic. And I said, "Oh, that's Mount McKinley. That's this, that's that."
Right.
And I was like, "Man, I'm here." And one of the only things, I've been to Yellowstone, I've been to all over. One of the only places I haven't been to is I haven't been to to see the monuments of Mount Rushmore. I've never been to North Dakota, South Dakota.
Right.
I've been to almost every state, in the Union.
But the Dakotas.
But the Dakotas, and I spent a lot of time in Montana because I got a friend of mine in Montana in Rock Creek outside of Missoula, and then he's real good friends with the Cheyenne Indian chiefs, and so I've spent a lot of time in Billings, Montana, all through Montana. They put me in the Sweat Lodge, and we had some real spiritual times there, and I had seen all this prior to this in magazines, but to live it and to go to Yellowstone, man, that's unbelievable. And like you said, I've only been to Yosemite one time,
Right.
but I definitely gotta go back.
Yeah, it makes you feel small in the sense that the scenery is so big, and whoever created that it's amazing.
Do you know what really made me start paying attention again? Because I had gotten away from paying attention. Because as a kid, I knew every bird sound. I could emulate every bird and whistle like them and stuff, you know what I mean? But I got away from it. But then when I got cancer and I was cured, that's what really made me aware again of the stars and the moon. And
You started seeing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't just looking, you saw.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you know that if you don't see a doctor within 14 days of a car accident, your $10,000 in personal injury protection benefits can be reduced to just $2,500? Florida is a no-fault state, which means your insurance covers your first $10,000 in medical bills, no matter who caused the crash. Don't let a missed deadline cost you thousands. Call the Ryles firm today at 561-804-9361.
And so we were talking about the nature and the contribution to your life and being able to get perspective, and you indicated that it made you see, not just look, but you get to see. There have been some moments in your life that have changed your whole perspective, and you indicated one of them having a health challenge.
Right.
Tell me about that. How that focused you in the way you see things.
When I was with the Giants, my dad had prostate cancer. So I was doing these PSAs for men to go get tested.
Right.
So like 9 years later, my PSA was steadily going up, and 1 year it jumped from 2.0 to 4. So I had a black doctor, Reggie Rector. He goes, "Hey man, you need to go get a biopsy." So I went and got a biopsy. They said, "Man, you got cancer." I said, "Nah, ain't no way." And so that was 2001, the winter of 2001. And Melissa just lost her mother earlier that year. And so she says,
Your wife, Melissa.
Yeah, my wife, Melissa. So she says, "Hey, man, I can't lose you." And Darren was almost 3 years old, and said, "I can't lose you to cancer too." You know what I mean? And so, that was a turning point where, there are certain. I mean, I got cut on back then. It wasn't like now.
Right.
Where they
Use the robotics. And
Oh
all that,
yeah, and so I mean that was a turning point in my life. But I remember going on down to San Luis Obispo, and I had a friend, and we were sitting on top of the roof. We were drinking some wine right before my operation, and so he says, "Hey man," I asked him, I said, "Man, you ever look at the stars and the moon?" He goes, "Why? What am I going to look at that for?" And at that moment, I realized, man, I don't want to be like that, and I'm not a guy that should be taking beauty and nature and everything, for granted. Because we were always out hunting or fishing or whatever. And I was telling you earlier, man, we were hunting and fishing for the meat because we had
Right.
5 kids.
Right.
And we'd have some beans and some fish in a minute.
Yeah.
Some fish we caught last winter.
Right.
And so, this is something that I've always tried to remain. We always had a garden. We always had fruit trees. Because my dad's from Florida. My dad's
Right.
from the South. And we were raised like we're from the South.
Right.
There's certain, and a lot of people might not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there's a certain way that you raise from the South when you live off the land.
Right.
And like I said, I got a garden now. I got fruit trees. I don't can like my dad did.
Right.
I mean, my mom and dad, we can. We always had food. You know what I mean? You may not like exactly what you have, but you always got food.
But the humble beginnings made you have a greater appreciation for success as well as life.
Right.
I want to back up to a period that is momentous in American sports iconography, and that is when Hank Aaron hit 715. As I shared with you previously, there are some iconic moments in sports history. I'm 63 years old that I remember as being watershed. For instance, when James Shaq won Harris from Grambling State, became the first black quarterback to start in the NFL. I remember that.
Oh, that was Ralph's homeboy.
That was Ryles' home.
Oh yeah, he's
Ralph
coming.
Garr.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's come see us all the time. But see, before that, I didn't know much about HBCU
Right.
players.
Right. When Joe Gilliam was in a fight to become perhaps the first starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, every black person watched that and was rooting for him.
True that.
When Doug Williams won the Super Bowl, I don't think that there was a black person in America that wasn't proud. Another one of those moments was when Hank Aaron hit 715, and you were in the batter's box. I'm sorry, the
On-deck circle.
On-deck circle.
Yeah.
And he was in the batter's box. Leading up to that, we've heard stories. Hank talked about stories, the death threats, and the atmosphere. What do you remember from that time period in Atlanta?
Well, I remember that Hank wasn't that happy. Like he was getting divorced at the time, and he was getting death threats. I mean, it was terrible. He had a bodyguard, Kyle Wardlow. He slept in one room, a dummy room, and then registered in another room. And Ralph and Paul Casanova, who you remember as a kid, Ralph and Paul Casanova and I, we were assigned to make Hank laugh.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a very joyful time, not at all. And he wouldn't tell us about it too much, or he didn't really have to, because we could tell by the look on his face, or we'd lock it beside him on each side, or sometimes he'd throw a bad letter on the floor, and then we'd wait till he went to the training room, and me and Ralph would read it. Or like there were threats like some guy was going to shoot him with a red jacket on from the upper deck, and so Ralph and I, the whole game, we're looking for this red jacket. Well, Hank acted like it didn't faze him. I'd never seen a guy who, in the face of controversy, it made him focus more. And he was a great lesson for us to take in our lives, where it looked like nothing was going to face him, but you knew it was. And
what was Atlanta like at that time? You would think generally that because he was getting ready to break a milestone in baseball history, that the community would have been with him? Was the community as divided as the laws were in terms of segregation and
That's a
here's
good
your
question.
place and
Well, okay. At that time, it was. I mean, Atlanta. Most of the blacks live on the South Side.
right,
That's where Ralph and I live. Hank lived. South Side. Now on the North Side, like Buckhead side, we could go up there, but they would hassle you after dark. It wasn't like a real sundown rule, but it was unwritten kind of sundown rule. And so, but
quasi Jim Crow.
oh yeah, but there were a lot of people in Atlanta at that time that was for Hank too.
Black and white.
Black and white.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of learned that just because a guy got a Southern accent, that don't mean he's in the Klan. Because I met some pretty cool white dudes that from the South, and I also learned that from the South being versus the West where I'm from,
Right.
that's as close as a lot of white and black people are in religion, Southern Baptist, in food, in speech,
Right.
and all kind of stuff. And I mean, even country western is kind of like the opposite of the blues, because you're singing about a dog or a girl or something.
So the people in the South tended to, whether they be black or white, be more like one another.
That's what I discovered from being from California. It wasn't just split, even though it might have been segregated in some areas, but there was a closeness also that I learned, over time. But Hank, like I said, Hank was going through hell.
Right.
And and if you can pull it up sometime, one of the greatest things that you'll ever hear is when Vin Scully was talking about Hank Aaron, about a black man in the Jim Crow South that was getting a standing ovation from everybody, white and black. And that really told the story. I didn't hear it till later,
Right.
Because I grew up with Vin Scully as a kid, but I was playing on the Braves.
Right.
But when I was on deck, Hank told me, he said, "I'm gonna get this over with right now." And I said, "Okay," because Hank would always give me lessons. I didn't know he was giving me lessons. He said, "Well, this guy's gonna start me out with a slider, then he's gonna come back in with a fastball. I'm gonna go back on the slider, and when he go back out there, I'm gonna hit it over the right center field fence." So it wasn't like he was predicting like Muhammad Ali, what round he was gonna knock.
Because he'd studied this person.
Oh, did he study? And see, he was trying to help me study, but I wasn't into no studying.
Right.
Yeah. But like I said, I learned later what studying is all about from seeing it firsthand with him. I wish I learned it earlier, but you got to learn the lessons when you learn them.
Right.
You
And that same studying was able to complement you as a manager.
Oh, definitely. And at first as a coach and then as a manager. And then I was so lucky. Not only did I have Hank, then I went to the Dodgers and I had Roy Campanella and I had Jim Gilliam and Joe Black helped me, Don Newcomb and Sandy Koufax was one of my mentors over there. So I was lucky to always have some cool white dudes and also some guys that were removed from the Negro League. See, I was one generation removed from the Negro League.
Right.
And so I was fortunate when I was around these greats and around the greats, once baseball became really integrated. So, I was lucky. I was blessed, not lucky. I was blessed to, by the Lord to put me in that situation and hopefully I passed some of that on what they gave me.
I'm going to share something I've never shared with you before. When you got traded or left the Braves, were you traded or did you decide because the contract?
No, I asked to be traded.
You asked to be traded.
And I begged them. I went in and asked Mr. Robinson, I said, "Please, man, I want to go back. I want to go back home." And then he asked me,
Why'd you want to go?
Well, because I didn't like losing.
Okay.
Number one, I was tired of losing.
at the time.
Yeah, I was tired of losing. And number two, I wanted to go back to California.
Right.
Well,
I never shared this with you, but I got to say that it probably was one of the saddest moments as in my, I guess in my evolution as becoming a man, because I felt like I was losing you because I knew I wouldn't see you in spring training anymore
That's
like
true.
I did all those years.
Yeah.
And it was like a loss of a family member, But as God would have it, we maintained contact, and and I saw you flourish in
Yeah.
pretty uniforms that you guys had, and it seems like your swagger got even bigger
Oh, yeah.
when you got to L.A. Tell us about the change
Yeah.
when you went from Atlanta to L.A. Was it
Well,
like you were on a
Well, what happened? I asked
on a
Mr.
highway now?
Yeah, but I asked Mr. Robinson. I said, Mr. Robinson, I said, please trade me. And he asked me, he said, you ever been to Cleveland? And I asked Hank, because Hank had been traded to Milwaukee. I said, Hank, how come every time I asked to be traded, he asked me, I've been to Cleveland? Because see, back then, Cleveland wasn't as Cleveland that
Right.
there is now. I mean, then they sent the bad actors to the Siberian front,
Okay,
which
okay.
they used to call
Yeah.
it back then. And so anyway, I got the news that I was traded to L.A. I hurt my leg playing basketball.
Right, I remember that.
About a week after I got traded. And so, man, it was tough. And my mom had always told me quit playing basketball, but it's hard to get basketball out of you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I fell on my face that first year. By August, I wasn't playing anymore, but I didn't think anything of it in the beginning because I had a home run my first at bat. I had another home run until like July the 4th.
Right.
They were booing me every day, man. I was like, oh man, I didn't want to go out of my house. And I was like, Lord, I messed up. And I started praying. I said, Lord, please, because this is where I always wanted to play. And they didn't trade me that winter. They operated on me. I had a cast on from here to there for 8 weeks. And so the trainer, Dr. Job saved my career.
That's a famous name.
Oh yeah, with Tommy John. I mean, I was a Dr. Job. I mean, he saved me. He operated on me like 4 times. And the trainer, Bill Bueller, he once my cast came off, he said, "Hey man, I want you to come work out at this stadium every day." And he goes, "Well, tell me the truth." And see, that was a lesson that I used to some of my players. Just tell me the truth, and there's a good chance I'll try to understand, but don't lie to me. So he told me, he says, "Hey man, how'd you hurt your leg?" And I said, "I was running my dog, I made up this story."
Right.
And I jumped over this creek bed. He didn't want to go. He goes, "Did your dog get an assist?" That's what he asked me. So, okay, he's going to tell me the truth. So I told him the truth. So he ran with me every day, up and down. And then I took off from there. Next year I hit 30 home runs. And then I made the All Dodger team, which you'll see over there, which my career was saved. I like to tell people I was born on the Braves, but I turned into a man and matured, on the Dodgers. I mean, we had good teams, and then I ended up seeing you later.
Right.
I mean, most people don't know this story. I mean, end up going to college.
Right.
I didn't know that you won the 100 and 220 in high school.
Right.
I was like, damn, that's Little, because your name was Little Richard.
Right.
And I was proud of you. Then you went to law school, or you went to San Jose State, and then you're out here by me.
Right.
And the Lord's going to always keep you in contact with people He wants you to stay in contact with. So our story is different than a whole bunch of other people's. Yeah.
We're getting ready to move towards the end, and I kind of want you to share 2 things with me. Baseball has evolved to a much different game than when you played with Hank and Ralph. And what are the changes? Do you believe that the game now is a better game than it was then? And how do we get blacks back into baseball?
Boy, that's a lot. Number one, when I first came in the game, there was many black stars that we wanted to be like. And I remember every year there would be all the black and Latin players on each team. And so that's why a lot of the blacks wanted to be on the Dodgers, the Cleveland Indians, at Pittsburgh Pirates. Always had a bunch of brothers and Latins on them. And the game has changed. It's changed to where it's gone to being, to the affluent. It's changed where somebody got to have some money, or you got to have a heck of a sponsor. And consequently, that's not conducive for too many of us to be in the game. Like you go to these perfect games, or you go to different tournaments. Because I used to ask my wife, so why can't y'all just play locally around here? Because they were going to Omaha and Cooperstown.
For your son.
Yeah, for my son. And so the games changed in as much.
It's become very expensive to play.
Very expensive. And plus, there aren't many black players playing in college, which baseball is using as a feeder for the minor leagues. I mean, my son went to Cal. He was fortunate to go to Cal, but I remember he was on the All-Star team and during area code games that they have out here, and all these brothers are on the team. And he goes, "Dad, man, we were on the bus, back of the bus, cutting up like you used to," and that's what made it fun. I mean, we motivated each other. I've gotten the reputation of people like, "Oh, you don't like sabermetrics?" Yeah, man, I love sabermetrics if you use it in the right way. Right. Okay, and I love it combined with the knowledge and wisdom that was given to me.
Right. Sabermetrics, for people that don't know, is using stats to determine who you play and when you play and how much they play.
But there's certain things that they can't be judged by the stats. There are certain things that have to be judged by your feelings, and that's what Hank used to tell us, that, hey, man, until you learn to trust your feelings, you'll never be a great ball player, because there's certain instincts and certain feelings that come to you, and you don't know where they come from.
Right.
But how many times have you should have gone left, but you went right, but something told you to go left?
Yeah.
Well, if something tell you to go left, you go left.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so and we had sabermetrics back then. It just didn't have a name.
Right.
Even when I first started managing, we had left-right matchup. We had first batter efficiency. We had ground ball to fly ball ratio. I mean, there's all kind of things that we had, but just it's become so technical that everything has a name. And the one thing I'd like to see are like guys be more natural.
Right.
Because most of the guys that I see that are really doing the hitting and the playing are I call it the no comprende boys. Because the Latin boys talk about no comprende. Well, they just out there playing. Right. And sometimes you can get so much in your head that you cease to be natural.
Well, that kind of is the question that I that I have for you, is that you don't see African Americans playing, but you see Afro Latinos playing. Why is it that they can seem to stay in the game versus African American players?
The thing is, you got to get in the game first,
right,
in order to stay in the game.
Right.
Well, and the rules are different. Because the Latin guys, those are my brothers, because we always live with them. But they can sign at 16 years old.
Right.
Well, here you can't do that.
So they
get you in the system quick.
So Major League Baseball gets them in the system quicker. So it's not as expensive to be a Latin player as it is to be an African American player.
Correct. And a lot of times, in the academies, they get them.
That's a baseball school.
Yeah, baseball school. They have them all through Dominican. They have some in Venezuela and some different places, and they feed them. They supposedly educate them, and all they do is play baseball.
Okay.
And so, and generally speaking, you don't sign the Latin players for as much money. So I mean, you might give some guys a bunch of money, but there's other guys you're going to sign 10, 15, 20 of them for $10,000 a piece. And then economically, if one or two make that, then you made all your money back from what you invested in
the academy.
Exactly.
So I got a question. There's always this statement that there are no black players or few black players in Major League Baseball because of the lack of fathers in black homes. Do you think that is also a contributing factor? And if so, why?
Well, possibly because, when the days of the broken home, are here. I mean, back in our day, there weren't that many broken homes unless you were, illegitimate kind of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Born out of wedlock.
Yeah, well, sorry. Born out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And so back then, the fathers were more involved. My dad was my coach,
right?
But my dad was also Bobby Bonds' coach, and you had more brothers in society that either played ball or they were willing to give more of their time, like a big brother and big sister to some of the young kids that need it.
Where do you see the trend going? Because as a spectator, I can say, the last game you managed that I got to see was against the New York Yankees. And I can tell you that game in the presentation of the product on the field by the Yankees was as much like an NBA game as any stadium I've been to. Watching, they played the hip hop, they had the DJ, it was more attuned.
It's production now.
Right, but that stadium alone has a production more akin to drawing African Americans to want to come to the game.
True that.
Versus the others. Where does it just doesn't appear that Major League Baseball has the same desire to attract that fan base. Do you agree, or
possibly?
Do you believe?
Well, see, that fan base isn't bringing the money to the stadium.
Right.
That fan base isn't buying a $200 jersey
Yeah.
or buying a $20 beer.
Right.
But we are trying. Through like Tony Riggins and Delvin Matthews, my godson, Jerry Manuel, some of the brothers that are schooling, the young players coming up. We don't have an academy per se, but they do play like a Jackie Robinson game. They got kids coming now that it's going to take a while, for them to get there, because this has only started probably 10, 12 years ago. And so, probably for every one that's playing, maybe it's still, the odds are still tough, no matter if it's all blacks or whites. What they say, 1% make it.
Right.
And so now we're trying to start the young brothers playing earlier, because there's something to experience and playing when you're young.
Right.
Look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods started swinging that golf club when he was 5, 6 years old. And so, but at the same time, we can't. I'm trying to convince some of the brothers to play, because I remember when I was coaching, I said, Allen Iverson would have been a heck of a shortstop.
Right.
Or this dude over here would have been Jason Kidd might have been over here. And so, but it's hard to get basketball out of the kids. I think it's going to help now with this NIL money, possibly. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because now, basketball and football was paying the bills. Right. But now they, I think, and they're also, I think, giving out 30-something scholarships in baseball, where before it was 11 and a half.
Wow.
And so everybody was on a partial. If you got a third scholarship or a half scholarship, that was big. Well, somebody's going to have to pick up that other $50,000, whatever it is, or however much it costs. And so, but the more scholarships that they give in baseball, and then the more, and I'm seeing more and more brothers playing on the World Series, College World Series. Right. And so, they can't keep them all out.
Right. I'm gonna move to my close, and I want to ask, when I saw this whole thing going on with Shedeur Sanders, and them saying that he didn't get drafted in the first round because they were trying to teach his dad a lesson, I automatically thought about you having a son that's playing professional baseball. Do you think that your illustrious career and who you are helped or hurt him in trying to get into the game?
I haven't really decided that yet. And Melissa reminds me that, I still got to be careful sometimes what I say, because there are some people that might hold against my son. And, it's not easy being a son of a ball player. A lot of people think,
especially one of your caliber.
Well, I think you're going to get special treatment, but sometimes there are some people that hold it against them too. And I don't know about Deion's son. I would like to think that not, but I'm not a talent evaluator in football, but I haven't heard Deion say much about it either.
Right.
And I'm sure I'd love to talk to Deion about this situation, because Darren has talked to other players' sons, and there are some, and the talent might not be the same here for you or your son, or you hope your son might be better than you, but you really don't know, because nobody really tells you,
right?
And nobody's going to really tell you the truth,
right?
And so I have to remind my son that, hey man, you still got to be twice as good as whoever you're competing against because you're black. Number
Right.
one. Number two, you got to be strong. Number three, you got to trust in the Lord to take care of you. And I got to. I got a good son, and you got to keep your nose clean because there are people looking at you to mess up, and so there's certain pressures that come. But like I told my son when he was little, I just said, hey man, I think the Lord has a special thing for you to do in life, and I was chosen. Why I was chosen, I do not know, but I also feel that my son was chosen to possibly be not just baseball, but to affect people in the world.
Last question, and it's a two-part question, because we're going to probably have to edit this together. As a player, where's your favorite place to play? Where's the place you disliked playing the most? And as a manager, where was your favorite place to manage? Whether it be as a opposing team, and where was your least favorite?
Well, as a player, Dodger State was my favorite.
Okay.
And not like that. I mean, we were winning.
Yeah.
Man, how do you take away winning? Right. There ain't nothing better than winning.
No.
Probably.
And won a World Series.
And we won a World Series. I really didn't have a worst place to play. I liked playing in Philly because I saw the ball well there.
Right.
Well, I didn't like playing in Chicago.
Okay.
Because it was too cold, windy, and I didn't see the ball well there.
Okay.
Because
of the lighting?
No, there was no lights when we played.
Okay. Okay. Day games.
And all day games, and the center field marker out there to tell 406 or whatever it is, it was off center, so I could never really, get my feet right.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to go to bed in Chicago.
Right.
And so therefore sometimes a little hard to see.
Yeah, I got you. All right. As a manager?
Well, as a manager, I San Francisco. I mean, I really liked San Francisco a lot because it's home.
Right.
And
you didn't mind the winds and all of that?
No, but I wouldn't. I stayed in the dugout with my jacket up.
Right.
But probably second, I really liked a lot Washington, D.C.
Right.
I mean, I love Washington, D.C. I mean, I liked Houston too. I loved it too, but D.C. was more me than anywhere.
Right.
And I liked the educational level. I liked the diversity of it. And, I just liked, I don't know, me and D.C., we hit it off,
right,
good right away. But like I said, I had a great time, in Houston, but I was in Houston like 4 years, and those are 4 good years. And see, when I look back, man, we could have gone to the World Series 4 years in a row. Wow. I mean, 2 years we were there at Game 7 in the ALCS. And, when I look back at my career, it's like, man, I could have won I know it's easy to say, I could have won 4 or 5, world championships. And
well, you did win a world championship as a player and as a manager. Yeah. Very few people have done that.
I heard that.
Right.
But something, I don't know what the Lord got next from. But something, I'm the manager of the WBC in Nicaragua.
Oh, okay.
So I still got a chance maybe on the world scene.
Well, Dusty Baker, you've been more than gracious to invite us into your home and to allow us this moment. I got more to talk about, but we have to stop somewhere. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, little Richard. Right. You invited me in your home first.